Well, the Premiership season is, of course, back. It's in full swing. And we are, of course, about to get into the second week. One nice thing, of course, is that there will be no Friday or Monday games, so you won't have to stretch everything. It's a good weekend. Certainly some intriguing clashes. And we will be dealing with all of them as we do our preview. This is, of course, Premiership football analysis right here on the Coach's Corner. And as always, you are all very welcome. Yes, people, welcome to the corner as always. And of course, the title says it all. This is, of course, the preview for the second game week of the Premiership, and the description says it all. We will be covering the games that will be played during the weekend of tomorrow, UK time, which is, of course, now today over here in my neck of the woods, the 24th of August, and also the 25th of August on a Sunday. And certainly some exciting clashes to be played. And what's intriguing is that we are looking forward to seeing quite a few players going back to their old stomping grounds. Could they possibly end up making a difference? We're going to have to see. And of course, in order to provide some further analysis of the game, I am delighted, of course, to be having the company of BBC Sport. They've got their preview pages, and I will, of course, share them to sort of help talk about everything. But without further ado, we're going to get straight to the very first game, and that sees the Red Devils of Manchester United go all the way to the Amex Stadium to take on Brighton and Hove Albion. And this is the midday kickoff, although it's half past midday on a Saturday. And the question is, can the Seagulls tame the Red Devils? Now, interestingly enough, both sides won their first game, but quite with a great deal of contrast, of course. While Manchester United had to huff and puff before eventually blowing Fulham's house down, the Seagulls had no real problems dispatching of an Everton team at Goodison Park, their last season at Goodison Park, where, frankly, they were quite poor. And, of course, now they've got some good confidence under their new young manager and are certainly flying high. And Danny Welbeck, of course, scoring one of the goals. He'll be looking to try and repeat the trick against the club where he began his career, of course. And some more team news. As far as Brighton are concerned, Evan Ferguson, Tariq Lamptey and Pervis Estupinian are back in training, but will be assessed ahead of the match. And of course, Yakuba Minte is also available after he was substituted against Everton with a mild concussion. And this impressive young manager, Fabian Huzela, says that the club record signing Jorginho Rutter has integrated quickly into the group, but has not yet confirmed if he would play in tomorrow's match. And we will, of course, wait to see if that happens. And Brighton, of course, heading into this with an impressive record, of course. They had 4 straight league wins against Manchester United, but it was ended by a 2-0 home defeat on the final day of last season. So Brighton have, of course, become a bit of a bogey team for the Red Devils. And as far as the Seagulls are concerned, as I mentioned, they won their opening fixture 3-0, and it's the 4th consecutive time for which they've done it. First game under Fabian Huzela, of course. However, they have lost 4 of their past 5 top-flight home games, one more than they had in their previous 25 fixtures at the Amex Stadium. So not too much in terms of home comforts for them, quite surprisingly, of late, and they will look to try and set that right. And, of course, this was their final match of last season, and now they meet again at the very beginning. So certainly a great deal of intrigue here. And since the beginning of the 2021-2022 season, only Manchester City and Spurs have earned more Premier League points in August than Brighton's 25. So, You cannot write them off early on the season. And of course, a huge contrast here with James Milner, 7 years older than this manager, 38 years old, former Liverpool, Manchester City and England star, still going strong. And he has now appeared in a record 23 Premier League campaigns, being on the winning side in 11 of his 35 appearances against Manchester United in the competition. Only Manchester City's Kyle Walker beating the Red Devils more. And let's not forget, Walker, like Milner, also played at Aston Villa, but also had sojourn at Tottenham Hotspur before moving to Manchester City. As far as Manchester United are concerned, Luke Shaw, Rasmus Højlund, Lenny Yoro and Tyrell Malacia remain on the sidelines, and it's rather unfortunate for Shaw, given his miraculous return to fitness during the latter stages of England's Euro 2024 campaign, going on to start in the final, mercifully, it must be said. And as far as Højlund is concerned, his unavailability is a bit of a loss. Lenny Yoro, of course, having recently signed, as has Malacia, still on the sidelines, I believe. And Victor Lindelof is also unavailable to face Brighton because of a toe problem. I only hope it will not be an ingrown toenail, because let me tell you something right now, those things hurt like Billy-O. Seriously. And some more team notes on Manchester United. They can actually win their opening 2 league matches of a season for the first time since 2017-2018, when they started with 3 straight victories. Having said that, United have now lost as many top-flight away games as they have won under Erik ten Hag. So definitely rather skittish away from home, very unpredictable. The Reds have won their opening Premier League away fixture in only one of their past 6 seasons, drawing 2, losing 3, beating Brighton 3-2 away in 2020-2021. So in as much as Brighton have had the measure of Manchester United in more recent times, United do enjoy playing at Brighton's home ground. And United are now, of course, 2 short of 200 goals scored in all competitions under Ten Hag. They will be hoping, obviously, to improve that record, of course. And if they can possibly score 2 goals in the game, then it could be quite good. Now, obviously, as I've mentioned, both teams won their opening fixtures, but the contrasting nature means that this one could very well be an intriguing one. I actually do believe that with United's injuries, they might struggle against a rather fluent Brighton side. This is actually one match that I could see ending in a 2-2 draw. The first Desmond of this season, I do believe. Or if I'm wrong, anyone can correct me. In fact, if I remember correctly, there were a couple of 1-1 draws, but no Desmonds. So that should hopefully set the tone. And before we go into the remaining fixtures, having taken the lunchtime fixture out of the way, let's see who are there in the chat. So we got Chelsea fan in the building who was there on our stream earlier before I had to shoot off. Big up to you, always a friend of the channel. Another reminder to keep hitting at the like button. And he's gone for a 2-1 Manchester United win. So, yeah, we'll see how it works. I mean, obviously, Huzela seems to have done a pretty good job. But again, you know, we can't really put too much emphasis on the opening game, and there will be some tougher tests ahead. Now, once we, sadly, no more people in the chat. Hopefully, as the stream goes on, we will be, hopefully getting some more people involved. We will have some more people in the chat. And, if there are some more people, I'd be more than happy to, engage with them, but we'll see how that works. Now, of course, we've got the first of the Saturday afternoon kickoffs. I mean, technically not quite the first, but in terms of alphabetical order, this is the first. And it's Crystal Palace hosting West Ham. And intriguingly, as we will find out, a certain Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who moved from Palace to Manchester United, now at West Ham, could end up making his league debut at one of his old stomping grounds. And along with him, Luis and Guillem could make their club debuts for West Ham, while Jean-Claire Todibo, Crescencio Somerville and Nicholas Füllkrug might also make their first starts for the Hammers. The Hammers having spent quite big in the summer and certainly brought about many players into the team, hoping for success under Julien Lopetegui. But their first game this season was a loss, 2-1 at the London Stadium to a resurgent Aston Villa, of course, flying after their exploits last season, fourth in the Premiership, into the Champions League this season. And Unai Emery has also assembled a good squad this season, and they'll be looking to do some good things. We'll talk about them very soon. Now, West Ham's only doubt, of course, is midfielder Edson Alvarez, who injured his hamstring at the Copa America, and he might be assessed, having not played since that particular time. And you take a look at the head-to-head records. Crystal Palace are looking for a third consecutive Premier League home win over West Ham, with the last 4 meetings between the two at Selhurst Park, producing a total of 24 goals, an average of 6 per game. So, yeah, there will be some goals here. And both teams have scored at least twice in each of those 4 matches, both scoring, of course, in each of the past 14 Premier League meetings. So this should definitely provide a few fireworks. And talking about West Ham under Lopetegui, of course, before Lopetegui joined, they've only won 4 of their 20 Premier League matches in 2024, drawn 7, lost 9. That, of course, was the second half of David Moyes' final season, of course. And the 9th loss came last week. A rather soft penalty, so you would say that Aston Villa were given some justice. And a rather leaky defence, of course, especially during the last half of Moyes' final season, conceding at least 5 goals in 4 of their past 8 Premier League London derbies. So a lot of work will have to be done. They've also gone 19 Premier League games without a clean sheet, the longest such run since 2008. So Alphonse Areola and Łukasz Fabianski will have big roles to play this season. I'm surprised that Fabianski's still playing. I thought he'd have retired by now. And they also, of course, acquired Wes Fotheringham from Sheffield United after they got relegated back to the Championship. And sadly, West Ham are in a position where they could lose their opening 2 Premier League fixtures for a record 9th time, as could Southampton. In happier news, Michail Antonio has scored in each of his last 4 Premier League starts against Crystal Palace, including at Selhurst Park in each of the previous 3 seasons. So obviously, he will have a very big role to play. And I actually am going for West Ham to win this one, because we talk about Crystal Palace now. Joachim Andersen and Jordan Ayew have both been in negotiations to move to other clubs. In fact, we have learnt that Andersen has secured a move to Craven Cottage. I don't know if he will be able to play against Leicester City, but we will find out. And another doubt is, of course, Will Hughes with an illness. And Matthias Franca is, in fact, out, still sidelined with that rib injury. And when we talk about Crystal Palace, well, they're aiming to win 5 consecutive home games for the first time in the top flight. They last achieved it in any division during a run of 6 straight victories in the second tier from September to October of 2001. However, Palace have won just 5 of their past 25 Premier League matches in August, drawing 7 and losing 13. And they've also won their opening home fixture in only one of their 15 previous Premier League seasons, beating Southampton in 2020. And very grim statistics there, drawing 3, losing 11. So the portents are not good, people. In happier news, Jean-Philippe Mateta, fresh from that silver medal at the Olympic Games for France, has scored in all 7 of Palace's Premier League home games under Oliver Glasner, with 11 goals in total. And Mark Gahey could also make his 100th Premier League appearance for Crystal Palace. And at 24, he would become the second youngest Palace player to achieve this, after a certain Tyrick Mitchell, who joined Aaron Wan-Bissaka at Manchester United. And of course, Bissaka has now gone over to West Ham and will be going back to Selhurst Park. And when I take a look at the Crystal Palace team and the way they played against Brentford, obviously Steve Jenkins, better known as Mr. B, was quite scathing in his denunciation of his team's performance, saying that they were rather lucky to have gotten away with something. Now, in as much as Crystal Palace did look quite tidy in the midfield, they probably weren't creating too many chances, and Mark Flecken didn't really have to make too many saves. He did make one fine save near the end, a brilliant reflex save that was. But what really made Mr. B very angry was an incident in the first half where, in trying to shepherd the ball to take a goal kick, he was closed down and inadvertently made a pretty poor pass Fortunately for him, his blushes were in fact spared. However, since Elise's departure, I think it's fair to say that Palace are going to be slightly weaker. And it's sad, really, because I do rate Glasner highly as a manager. And I think he will certainly, he should be able to do some good things with Palace this season, and had a wonderfully strong ending to that season, thrashing Aston Villa at Selhurst Park, who had already qualified for the Champions League, of course. It will remain to be seen what he does, but losing Joachim Andersen will be a bit of a blow. Quality defender, of course, for the Eagles and for Denmark, and we'll see how that hole will be plugged. Now, I've actually gone for the Hammers to win this one 2-1. I just think they do have a fine attack, and they've obviously spent quite well, and they will be hoping, quite obviously, to make sure that they click really well. Matthias Kilman, of course, will have another role to play, as, of course, will the likes of Jared Bowen and James Ward-Prowse. And if Antonio's starting, as was mentioned, Palace had better watch out. And we've got Miss Molina in the building. And obviously, I know you're working, but it's wonderful to see you in the chat as always. And hopefully, we'll get to do a stream together sometime soon. I'm especially interested to hear your prediction for the Aston Villa-Arsenal game coming up. And we'll discuss that, of course. And Chelsea fans gone against me again. He's gone for Palace to keep a clean sheet and win 1-0. I'm not too sure that keeping a clean sheet is anything that Dean Henderson will be good at, but, we'll just have to see how that works. The second game, of course, and we have another bit of return to an old stomping ground, a certain Bobby de Cordova-Reid, having joined Leicester City, will have an early return to Craven Cottage, where he has made his name. Now, we will, of course, deal with the preview for that. He did, of course, play against Tottenham Hotspur in the home game at the King Power Stadium, which finished in a 1-1 draw. I don't know if he got injured. I'm pretty sure he should be fit enough to play, and if he does, then it will, of course, be very interesting indeed. As far as Fulham are concerned, I mean, we'll talk about Leicester City first. Oliver Skipp, of course, who joined from Tottenham, but obviously didn't play in that game at the King Power, will be available to face Fulham. And the Foxes are going to be without Patson Daka, Connor Cody, and Jakub Stolacic, who are all injured. Stolacic, of course, is one of the goalkeepers. So it will be Hermansen to continue in goal, and Wales as Danny Ward. First choice for his nation, but third choice for Leicester on the bench. And as far as Leicester are concerned, no side in the top 4 English divisions. I mean, of course, head-to-head, of course. Fulham have won both Premier League meetings the last time the sides met. That was, of course, in the season where they got relegated under Brendan Rodgers, and I think it was Dean Smith who managed them, yes. And on their recent most visit to Craven Cottage, Leicester lost 5-3, with that game producing one more goal than their previous 6 away league games against Fulham combined. Also, it must be mentioned, though, that this was there was, in fact, an interesting sidebar to one of their away games. It was effectively the Claudio Ranieri derby. After being sacked by Leicester following that wonderful Premiership win, Ranieri went on to manage Fulham, but it didn't go too well for him, and his old chargers came over to Craven Cottage and gave his boys a good beatdown, as it were. And I'm going to talk about Leicester City. No side in the top 4 English divisions have won more away league games last season than Leicester's 14, winning each of their first 7 away matches in the Championship. So the Foxes like to travel, and they like to hunt in packs. Having said that, though, the Foxes have won their opening away fixture in only one of their past 7 Premier League seasons, and that was a win over West Bromwich Albion 3-0 in 2020. And Steve Cooper, why he was seen as fit to manage the Foxes, I will never know. Having lost 6 of his 7 meetings with Fulham in all competitions, his solitary victory was by a score of 1-0 at Craven Cottage in April 2022. And of course, that was while he was managing Nottingham Forest. So when Leicester travel to the City Ground to take on the Tree Men, that will certainly be interesting. And a special mention to Jamie Vardy, who at 37 years old became Leicester's oldest Premier League goal scorer when he scored against Spurs last weekend, and certainly gave it to the players, reminding them that Leicester have one more Premier League trophy than they do. I'm never fond of that sort of banter. I really think, you've made your point, you've proven your quality, and you're better. Just move along with dignity. And Abdul Fattah will certainly have a big role to play for Leicester, with no Premier League player winning more duels in the opening round of fixtures than him, 13. But he also led all Fox's players for successful dribbles, possession won, and tackles. 3 dribbles, 8 possession wins, and 6 tackles. So he will certainly have a big role to play, and I'm sure that De Cordova-Reid will have a role to play as well. As far as Fulham are concerned, Sander Berge, the new arrival, will have to wait until next week to make his full debut for the club, as Marco Silva says he's not quite ready to start. But no new injury concerns for Fulham, and they have had a few departures, of course. And about Fulham, of course, they haven't won their first home match in 5 Premier League campaigns since a 5-0 win against Norwich City in 2012. They only lost one of their 6 top-flight games versus promoted opposition last season, and that was a 2-0 home defeat against Burnley in December. So a rare moment of success for Vincent Kompany, who has since, of course, gone off to manage Bayern and Harry Kane and company. Good luck to him. Andreas Pereira, the former Manchester United midfielder, of course, created an unrivaled 6 chances in the opening round of Premier League fixtures. The 19th time on record that a Fulham player has created 6 or more chances in a Premier League match, with the Brazilian responsible for 7 of those. So certainly had a good game on his old stomping ground, of course. Fulham very unlucky to concede a late winner, but they did also have 1 or 2 chances of their own. Andre Onana coming up with some important saves. Timothy Castagne, who, of course, played for Liverpool, and he'll be coming up against his former club, but they'll be coming to visit him. He scored 5 goals in 91 Premier League appearances for Leicester from 2020 to 2023. But after the Foxes were relegated to the Championship, he moved over to Craven Cottage. So certainly a very interesting renewal of hostilities or friendships, whatever. We saw that with James Maddison when he went back to the King Power Stadium. And as far as Emile Smith-Rowe is concerned, since scoring in Arsenal's 4-2 league win at Chelsea in April of 2022, he has now gone 39 appearances without a goal in all competitions. Although, having said that, it was wonderful to see him playing the full 90 minutes at Old Trafford in the first game week. And you just think that once he blends in, he will start, doing quite well. I mean, we have to sort of give him some support because he was the club's record signing. And as an Arsenal fan, I want to see him do well. Except, of course, when we come up against Fulham, either at the Cottage or at the Emirates Stadium. And you just know that there will be an emotional round of applause for him. Now, this particular game will obviously be a battle of, 2 teams who have fairly strong midfields, but it will come down to who has the better attack. And you've got Jamie Vardy still proving that he has it, while Fulham were not quite able to score. For me, I just think Leicester, given their fondness for travelling away from home last season, albeit in the Championship, I just think they might have the edge over here, and this should end up being a 2-1 win for the Foxes. We should have a prediction in the chat right now, and Chelsea fans gone for a 1-1 draw. So Foxes are on the hunt for some cottage cheese. Apparently, Chelsea fan thinks that a few of them might be lactose intolerant. We will have to see how that works. And now, of course, I want to say an intriguing fixture. We see Ipswich, of course, going all the way to the city of Manchester, the Empty-Had Stadium, as I rather derisively call it. But, of course, as mentioned, as people will mention, they are the 4-time defending Premier League champions. And not a very good couple of games to start the season for Ipswich as a promoted team. Very, very honest and hard-working, inspiring performance in an eventual 2-0 defeat to Liverpool. I don't know if Manchester City are going to be that forgiving, and we see Liam Delap going back to his now former stomping ground very quickly. We're going to see how that works. Now, Pep Guardiola, of course, has said that Manchester City are waiting for international clearance to confirm if their former skipper, who's now come back, Ilkay Gundogan, can be involved against Ipswich. And of course, Gundogan has since announced his retirement from Die Mannschaft, along with Toni Kroos, Thomas Muller, and Manuel Neuer. So Nagelsmann will have a very inexperienced but young team to now work with. And it could very well be that Joshua Kimmich will take up more and more of the leadership responsibilities. But it will be exciting to see how well he does. If he can do the same job that Joachim Löw did with his young charges, there will be some possibilities. And as far as Rodri, he's getting better, but it is unlikely that he will play in the match. So it could very well be that Mateo Kovacic will once again deputize after he went back to his former club and scored, made a good impression. So we'll see how that works. Savinho, of course, started that game against Chelsea, but went off at half-time. He's been struggling with a knee issue, and a late decision will be made on him. And rather unfortunately, he had made his debut, of course, at Stamford Bridge. I'm sure he would have loved to have made a home debut, but if the knee issue is serious, I don't think he'll be able to play. And as far as Ipswich are concerned, Wes Burns, George Hurst, Nathan Broadhead, and Harry Clark are all out injured. Loney Calvin Phillips is ineligible to face his parent club, so he'll have to watch from the bench. However, manager Kieran McKenna could give a debut to midfielder Jens Kajusta and could very well make a late call on goalkeeper Arianet Muric, who was, of course, a youth player at City before moving to Burnley, signed, of course, by Ipswich for the Premiership season, but sadly he missed that match with a calf injury, which meant that the long-time goalkeeper Christian Walton ended up playing in his place and didn't do too badly. But obviously, Muric is definitely, an up-and-coming goalkeeper, very strong, very imposing. And you wonder if he had started the last season for Burnley instead of James Trafford, would they have had a horrible start and would they have ended up being relegated? Well, as Kate Winslet would say, I guess we'll never know. Now, this is, of course, the first meeting between the sides since January 2002, when City, who were then in the second tier, beat Premier League Ipswich 4-1 at Portman Road in the FA Cup. Well, clearly, obviously, City were on the rise back up after having suffered that, those dreadful demotions, of course, relegations, as we should say. But they certainly were coming back quite strongly indeed. And of course, City, like Ipswich, are founder members of the Premier League. I don't quite remember when they played, what the results were that season, long time ago, but interesting to see. But this will, of course, be their first Premier League encounter since the 2000-2001 campaign, the season before, when they were both newly promoted. And the Tractor Boys won both games that season with a 2-1 home win, confirming City's relegation. So effectively, they were relegated. I mean, it was a horrible time to be a Manchester City fan, but obviously, they went back up and then they haven't been in relegation trouble since. And how? Ipswich are playing at the Etihad Stadium for the first time, winning on their last two visits to Main Road, City's former stomping ground. Now, as far as Manchester City are concerned, they've won 17 of their last 18 Premier League games against promoted sides, drawing the other since a 2-1 home loss to Leeds in April of 2021. What a shock that was. And since then, they've obviously become a lot more ruthless. They are unbeaten in 24 Premier League games since a 1-0 defeat at Aston Villa in December of 2023. The club's second longest unbeaten league streak after a run of 30 from April of 2017 to January of 2018. So obviously, City can be beaten, and they have been beaten. I do not see Ipswich, causing too much in terms of trouble. Currently, City are on a club record run of 44 consecutive home matches unbeaten in all competitions, winning 37 and drawing 7, with the last loss at the Etihad Stadium being a 2-1 debacle against Mr. B's Brentford in the Premier League in November 2022, just prior to the World Cup. And of course, that was the season where Brentford did the double over them, but City went on to win the league after Arsenal flopped at the end of the season. Manchester City, of course, have lost their opening home fixture in only one of their 27 previous Premier League seasons, and that was a 5-2 defeat against Leicester in 2020-2021. So, that was also another real shock there. Erling Haaland has now scored against all 22 sides he's faced in the Premier League, with the Norwegian also scoring 13 goals in 9 appearances in August in the division, more than he's managed in any other month. So you can just trust this Norwegian with the wind in his hair, flailing around like a sail, to hit the ground running. As far as the Tractor Boys are concerned, they haven't scored in 7 away league games against the reigning top flight champions since a 2-2 draw with Liverpool in April of 1984. Wow, more than 40 years, you can imagine. And although Ipswich did, of course, as I mentioned, they did lose 2-0 against Liverpool in their opening match. And not since 2006-2007 in the Championship have they started a season with 2 straight defeats. And that trend will should be expected to resume tomorrow. They have, of course, won one of their last 14 Premier League games, drawing 3 and losing 10, and that was a 1-0 home victory against Middlesbrough in April 2002. That goal by the now BBC Sport pundit and also Premier League channel pundit Darren Bent is the most recent in the top flight scored by the Tractor Boys. And their most recent Premier League away fixture was a 5-0 defeat at Liverpool in May of 2022. And as for the manager Kieran McKenna, who's literally taken them from strength to strength with back-to-back promotions, he will be the 14th manager whose first Premier League away game will be against the reigning champions. None of the previous 13 have won. And we're not going to take much time in trying to name all of those managers. Really nothing much to say. Should be an easy City win. 4-1 for me. What say you, Chelsea fan? 5-0. I suppose maybe I am being generous with giving Ipswich a goal, but it isn't uncommon for the underdogs to nick a goal here. Now, of course, we come to this intriguing clash with Southampton taking on Nottingham Forest, 2 teams who, of course, lost their opening matches by the same margin. Southampton losing. Actually, Nottingham Forest didn't lose. They actually drew against Bournemouth. They were supposed to win that, but Semenyo popping up with a late equaliser near the end. Southampton looking good against Newcastle, especially when the Magpies had Fabian Schär sent off. If only Schär could turn back time, he wouldn't have done what he did. But this obviously will be a very interesting and intriguing game, and I've actually got Southampton to win this, but we will take a look at the preview here. Now, ahead of their first home match back in the Premiership after quite some time, they've got no new injury worries. The Ghanaian midfielder Kamaldeen Suleiman is close to a return after an ankle injury, while fullback Juan Larios is still building up his fitness following a long-term hamstring problem. Gavin Bazunu, who of course started the lion's share of their games last season, picked up an Achilles injury, and of course he is out until the new year. Alex McCarthy deputised for him quite brilliantly last season, especially in the playoff final, but was at fault for Newcastle's winner. Didn't concede any more after that, and is a reasonably solid keeper. He will be expected to continue in goal. As far as Forest are concerned, Danilo, who had a horrible injury against Bournemouth, a broken ankle, it must be said, he will have surgery on that next week, while Ola Aina and Anthony Elanga will be assessed after coming off with minor injuries against Bournemouth. And new signing Nikola Milenkovic is available after serving a suspension incurred at his previous club, Fiorentina. And I just wonder how Forest are able to get those quality players to sign for them. Last season, of course, they had Gonzalo Montiel, the World Cup winner, and Ibrahim Sangare, the Ivory Coast player who won the African Nations Cup, I believe. I don't think they're at the club now, though. Now, Southampton are yet to record a home win over Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. In all of those fixtures, I think they were at the Dell and St Mary's. They drew 2 and lost 4. And it's the most Premier League away games Forest have played against one team without ever losing. And Saints, of course, have only won one of their last 12 home fixtures against Forest in all competitions, and that was a 3-2 win in the Championship in September 2011, drawing 4 and losing 7. But you know what? Trends like this are meant to be broken. And of course, they're coming into this having been promoted from the Championship, but their recent Premiership sessions have not been successful. In 14 top-flight matches, they are winless, having drawn 4 and lost 10, their worst run since 1989. And they've also won just 2 of their past 21 Premier League home games, drawing 5 and losing 14, keeping 1 clean sheet. They also have won their opening home fixture in only one of their previous 24 campaigns, and that was a 3-2 victory over former Premiership champions Blackburn Rovers in 2004-2005. They had 77.8% possession in their opening day defeat by Newcastle, their second highest ever in a Premier League fixture. Certainly some good portents for them, and that's why I do believe that they will pose a good threat against a Forest team that should be also fairly suspect in defence. Ben Brereton Diaz, who was at Sheffield United, if I'm correct, is yet to end on the winning side in a Premier League match in 15 attempts, drawing 4 and losing 11. Ducks like that are meant to be broken. As far as Forest are concerned, they're looking for a third consecutive away win in the Premier League, which would be their best run since 1995. They had 8 shots on target against Bournemouth in that opening game, more than any other Premier League side. Forest, of course, were unbeaten in all 6 Premier League games against promoted sides last season. And Chris Wood could become the 4th player to score a Premier League goal at St Mary's for 3 different clubs, finding the net there for both Burnley and Newcastle. So obviously the portents don't necessarily look good for Southampton, but the reason why I've gone for Southampton to win this game is because obviously that about possession there against Newcastle means that they are a team that will work really hard with the ball at their feet. They do look very solid in defence. That goal they conceded at St James's Park notwithstanding. As far as Forest are concerned, look, their past couple of seasons, they've shown that they just don't have the concentration to be able to maintain a serious attempt at staying in the Premier League. And I actually do predict that they will end up, coming up short when they get to St Mary's. Of course, all the portents point to a Forest win, but I do believe that Southampton, first home game of the season, they're back under Russell Martin, and they will definitely be determined to do as well as they can. So I've gone for Southampton to win 1-0, I do believe, or was it 2-1? I don't remember, but we will find out. I'm sure Chelsea fan will disagree with me. And no, actually, he's gone with a Southampton 1-0 win. And some huge team news here is that he's out for 8 games with a foot injury. So it will be interesting to see who City field as a striker, with Julian Alvarez, of course, having gone to Atletico Madrid, where he will be linking up with a certain Mr. Conor Gallagher, as you know, Chelsea fan. And obviously, I'm pretty sure that whoever starts up front will do a good job against an Ipswich team that just don't look prepared. And of course, we do welcome this big fella into the chat, Oris Talks Football, Eric Ten Hag's Red Army. Well, thank you very much indeed, and good to have you on. And if you would like to come on and chat with me, I'd be more than happy to send you the StreamYard link. You just had your stream, of course, on Oris Talks Football. I was there in the chat offering you my predictions. And now, of course, I've been asked to do this one in place of Hanno. I hope we'll get some more people watching it, at least on playback. And now we've got this little contest over here. Tottenham Hotspur against Everton. Ange Ball against Dyche Ball. Fluent attack against stodgy defence. And Everton, of course, are going to be without Ashley Young, who has been suspended for this particular game. I think he might have been given a 3-game ban following that ridiculous sending off in the opening fixture. Not what Dyche would have wanted from his senior most professional. And if we talk about the team news, sadly for Spurs, the new signing Dominic Solanke sustained an ankle injury against Leicester, so he's been ruled out, as has Rodrigo Bentancur, who has to follow concussion protocol after he was stretchered off during that match following a collision. But Pedro Porro, Yves Bissouma, and Wilson Odobert are all available, and it will be interesting to see how the team will be set up. It'll probably be Richarlison who'll be starting up front, and he'll be playing with Heung-min Son once again. Everton will assess James Tarkowski, who's nursing a hamstring strain, but I do stand corrected. It's just going to be a one-match ban for Ashley Young. And James Garner, Seamus Coleman, Yusuf Shimiti, Nathan Patterson, and Jared Branthwaite are all out injured. Oh boy, defensive problems for the Toffees. They're in a very sticky situation, pun intended. I've gone for a 3-1 Spurs win. They're so out of sorts that if Spurs do not win, it will be shameful. Now, of course, Everton's solitary victory in the 23 most recent Premier League meetings was a 1-0 away win on the opening weekend of the delayed 2020-2021 season. Dominic Calvert-Lewin scoring the goal there. Apart from that, they've drawn 11 and lost 11. The latest of just 4 wins for Everton in their past 32 league visits to the Tottenham Stadium or at White Hart Lane, whichever one it is, drawing 8 and losing 20. Spurs did beat Everton 2-1 at home last December and also drew 2-2 at Goodison Park in February. Richarlison scoring 3 of the 4 goals for Spurs against his previous club. So a good time, of course, for Richarlison to start. And up against his old club, he will certainly have a big say. Now, as far as Spurs are concerned, if they fail to beat Everton, which I do not think they will, they are at the risk of starting the season without a win in their opening 2 league games for the very first time since 2015 or 2016. And they have won their opening Premier League home fixture in 5 of the last 6 seasons. The only exception, of course, being a 1-0 defeat by Everton. As mentioned, it was Calvert-Lewin who scored the winner in that game. And their 4 wins in the past 12 Premier League matches were all against the teams that finished in the bottom 4 of the table last season. You could call them flat-track bullies. It is what it is. However, Spurs could also go for 16 successive home league fixtures without a clean sheet for the first time since an 18-game streak from April 1995 to February 1956. And I had predicted that it will be a 3-1 win for Spurs because their own defense can be a little bit, shaky at times. But as far as Everton are concerned, once again, just when you think they escaped trouble last season with the points deduction, they've started in the worst possible way, and they could lose their opening 2 Premier League matches for the 3rd consecutive season. They haven't won a top-flight game in the month of August in any of the last 3 seasons, drawing 3 times and losing 6, including the last 4 without scoring a goal. Once again, goals are a problem. They are winless in 11 away league fixtures since a 2-0 triumph at Burnley in December, drawing 4 and losing 7. They're the only non-promoted side without a Premier League away victory in 2024. They lost every away league game last season against the teams that finished in the top 6, conceding 18 goals. And as for Sean Dyche, well, you talk about how he stresses on defense. This is a poor stat, really. And he's also winless in all 8 away games as a manager versus Spurs in all competitions, only avoiding defeat in Burnley's 1-1 league draw at Wembley Stadium in August 2017. I really don't think we need to discuss this game any further. And if Everton do not get their act together quickly, they will be in for another season of struggle. And we do have Orest saying that he would like to come in. So just hold on a minute, son. I will send you the link, obviously. In fact, obviously, given that subscriber mode has been turned on, I don't think I will be able to obviously put the link in the chat. And sometimes, with my old iPhone, some of these apps have all sorts of issues, but hopefully I should be able to... Oh, for Pete's sake, come on, man. Okay. Where there is a will, there's always going to be a way. And yeah, Oris, if you are watching, do please check your WhatsApp. If you are in the studio, I will add you on. And a Chelsea fan agrees with me, the exact same scoreline. So no need to further discuss this one. And just as well, because we've come to probably the most anticipated clash. It'll be Saturday early evening drama. Saturday night fever on my side. And yep, here is the man himself.
Yes, Manny.
The Albanian albatross, or I'm not too sure you like the animal comparison, but big up to you and good stream there. Pretty interesting panel, a few returnees, and it certainly looked a bit of fun. How was it?
Yeah, no, it was all right. It was all right. Lots of interesting score predictions that we said, but yeah, it was all good. Managed to talk about everything, so yeah.
Yeah, so I left my predictions in the chat, obviously, and I don't know what you said about them, and I have, of course, gone for a Desmond in the in your game when you travel to the Amex because Brighton do look good under the new manager, and it will be interesting to see if your defense will be able to stand up to any kind of scrutiny. I think Mazraoui does look good at right back, but I was expecting him to switch over to the left because that's where he plays for Morocco, and he played there for Bayern Munich last season. This idea of not having a left-footed left back, obviously because Shaw's injured. I mean, how do you really like that situation? Is it really something that has been effective for you so far?
I mean, we don't have to have a left foot. For me, in my opinion, without need a left back because I think, like you said, Mazraoui can play there, and I think the reason why we brought him there, I think, is to cover Luke Shaw and the likes of Luke Shaw. But that's just so I'm not too worried because I think Mazraoui can do the job. So no, I wouldn't be too concerned about a left foot being a left back. So yeah, so I do have belief in Mazraoui because he had a very good debut, which I was very impressed with. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Obviously, of course, like a certain Soufiane Amrabat who was at loan with you lot last season, he was one of the better players for Morocco at that World Cup. And yeah, I do like him. I do think he's a tidy defender, and obviously he was one of the better players in that Bayern Munich team last season under Tuchel. But now, of course, that he, along with De Ligt, are at Manchester United. De Ligt obviously didn't get to play against Fulham, but do you think he could come into the team for this trip to the Amex? I mean, there are some doubts about whether Maguire should be playing, if I'm not wrong.
I said, mushroom. I said the Ligt should start, but obviously Maguire had a very good performance against Fulham, but I do think the Ligt will come in and start. So it'll be good to see the Ligt making his debut start, I guess. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it should be the Ligt and Martinez together. So yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. So I've gone for a Desmond in this game, but I think you've gone for a win, right? 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1 United.
We'll see how that happens. I mean, Huzela certainly has got the team playing well, but you can't make too much of the first game. And now I'm glad you're here because I did not appreciate being, having the Mickey taken out of me by you. And I'm going to say this right now. As much as I admire Unai Emery as a class manager, I do admire Emi Martinez, obviously, as a goalkeeper. I'm always Arsenal first. And as I told you, I predicted that we were to win our 2 games against them last season at Villa Park and at the Emirates Stadium. But we absolutely flopped badly. Villa, of course, when they beat us at Villa Park, they were going through that brilliant run, which saw them briefly top the league. And when they came to the Emirates Stadium, they didn't have Douglas Luiz in the team. Had we beaten them, we would have, really taken a firm march to the title. But it just goes to show that if you disrespect your former player and former manager and are sneering in your condemnation, criticism of them, and you end up being complacent, you are going to ask for trouble. Emery masterclass, beat us fair and square. And you just know that with the team being in the Champions League this season and having made the investments they made, unlike us, they're going to be fired up to win this game. Now, obviously, given that I predicted wins last season, they didn't materialise. I've gone cautious and gone for 2-2 draw. A Desmond, but Chelsea fan thinks that it'll be a 2-1 win to the Arsenal, and you also said that on your stream. I did mention that although Villa did have marginally the better attack, and the reason why I say that is because Watkins, once he gets back into the groove, he is absolutely brilliant. And of course, you've got Johnny Duran coming on. He could, punch well above his weight, pun intended. Havertz, yeah, he scored a good header against Wolves, but he missed some absolute sitters as well in that same game. But defensively, Villa do suffer from lapses of concentration, especially if your name is Matthew Cash. Yes, I'm looking at you, son. You know that there are going to be a few mistakes here and there. And as much as I absolutely admire Martinez, he doesn't keep too many clean sheets these days, but he does make some important saves. He did keep 2 against us last season. Why, Emmy? I'll tell you why. Because Arteta didn't want you. So what makes you confident about predicting a tight Arsenal win? Tell me more.
I think Arsenal will get the first goal. And that will obviously lead to Villa coming out of the zone box. So, yeah, Arsenal to get the first goal. Then it will be 1-1 that Arsenal will manage to get a second goal. I think, as we know, Emery loves his high line stuff. So I think Arsenal caught them out with a high line. So, yeah, 2-1 Arsenal for me.
Well, you talk about the high line, obviously, but the issue, of course, here is that last season they played the high line against us and we weren't able to breach them. Not only, we couldn't even score. And people are going to claim that Havertz's goal at Villa Park should have stood. Rubbish. It was the right decision to chalk it off. And we talk about the team news, of course. Unai Emery having an unchanged squad for the visit of Arsenal. There is no more Douglas Luiz, but Amadou Onana has come in. He was, of course, the only one of Villa's 8 summer signings to start against West Ham. But then fullbacks Ian Maatsen and Costa Nedeljkovic made their club debuts as late substitutes. And I like Maatsen, mind you. I think Hanno will talk a lot about his quality. Chelsea fan might know a bit about him. And, of course, last season he was in the Borussia Dortmund team that played in the Champions League final and made it there. As far as Arsenal, there are no fresh fitness concerns. Mikel Arteta is, however, unsure whether Jurrien Timber is ready to start as the club carefully manages come back from a long-term injury. And summer recruit Ricardo Calafiore was an unused substitute on the opening weekend. We have, of course, confirmed that Mikel Merino will be joining us. I just don't know if he will be able to be registered for this game in time. If he is, he could start in the midfield in place of either Partey or Rice. I think Partey might be dropped for him. But that battle between, Onana and, and company against Merino and Rice will be very interesting. Rice has to really step up. And, that is going to be very interesting. But as mentioned in the head-to-head, Aston Villa did a double over us last season. And that was 40% of our Premier League defeats in that season. They've also won 5 of the past 9 Premier League meetings, keeping a clean sheet whenever they've won. So we have to score in order to have a chance of winning. And there's as many victories, 9 Premier League meetings, but not against Arsenal, but against other teams. And there's as many victories as they've managed in their previous 46 attempts against Arsenal. So, yeah, they do have a bit of an Indian sign over us. But whenever we've scored, we've beaten them. Having said that, Arsenal have won 14 Premier League games at Villa Park. They're joint most at an away venue along with Selhurst Park. Villa, of course, looking to win their opening 2 Premier League matches of the season for the 4th time, having done so in 95-96, 99-2000 and 2020-2021. They've won their opening home league fixture in each of the past 4 seasons and began last season with 8 straight top-flight victories at Villa Park. What a run they had, only for Newcastle to put a stop to that. But I did predict on your stream, Morris, that Newcastle would do just that because Villa was starting to tire. And I did say that they wouldn't be able to sustain their title run because of a poor squad, but they are in the Champions League and they've now spent money. Ollie Watkins has, of course, now gone 6 Premier League appearances without a goal since scoring against Arsenal in that infamous game. He also happens to have 5 career league goals against us. Arsenal fan growing up. And the former Middlesbrough boy, Morgan Rogers, he scored in each of his last 3 Premier League appearances at Villa Park. And he's going to be that person who will partner Andre Onana. And you've got to take your hat off to Emery. He has an absolute knack for judging talent and really, really, sharpening them into diamonds. Making silk purses out of sow's ears, the whole 9 yards. And of course, ever since leaving Arsenal, he's only lost 1 of his 7 matches as a manager against us in all competitions. That, of course, was the Premier League home defeat in 2023 when the Gunners scored twice in stoppage time. Everyone, our shameless Arsenal fans, still hark back to that win and still call Emery a glorified cup manager. Last season, he shut us up and made us eat humble pie. As far as Arsenal are concerned, they've won 8 of their 9 Premier League away games so far in 2024, drawing the other, scoring 28 goals and keeping 7 clean sheets. The longest unbeaten away streak since a run of 12 in 2016 under Arsene Wenger. It must be said, though, that, whenever we've won away from home, it's been against teams that quite literally haven't been able to cut the mustard for the most part. They've also won 17 of their 19 top-flight matches in 2024, the only defeat, of course, coming at home to Aston Villa in April. Oh, what a horrible day that was. They can equal the record of 18 league wins from the first 20 matches of the calendar year, set by Liverpool in 1982 and matched by Manchester City in both 2019 and 2021. Arsenal have also kept 11 Premier League away clean sheets last season, 4 more than any other club. Kai Havertz has an unrivaled 17 Premier League goal involvement since mid-February with 10 goals and 7 assists in 15 appearances. And the German has, however, yet to score or set up a goal in 7 games against Aston Villa, the most he has faced an opponent without doing so. And of course, one of the more enduring memories of the game at Villa Park was him trying to go chin to chin with Emi Martinez, only for the goalkeeper to put him in his place. Never ever mess with Emmy. But I do understand why a lot of people are being confident about Arsenal winning. But you also have to take a look at the way Unai Emery has gone about the job and say that he has done really well. And when you took a look at that Villa game at the London Stadium, West Ham didn't really deserve that penalty. It was a soft penalty in many ways. But what impressed you about Aston Villa in that game, and how impressed have you been over the course of last season by them?
Yeah, what impressed me is that they kept fighting. Villa. Obviously, they got Durham, who I don't know whether he will start or not, but he looks like a decent striker who can obviously cause some issues. So I think the main thing I saw from Villa was that they didn't give up, and obviously going to West Ham and obviously winning there deserves credit. So yeah, but compared to last season, I think Emery tactically, you can see that he hasn't changed. He's always going to be what's his big up brother to and this guy again or shows up everywhere. Listen, I'm everywhere. So yeah, big up to you, Mr. B. But no, I think tactically, when I look at Emery, he's the guy to never change. Usually, every season when managers, they usually tweak their tactics. Not with Emery, no. So yeah, I think he's kept to the same end. Yeah, he's made. I know they lost Douglas Luiz, but they still got good midfield in my opinion. So at least Emery has, I wouldn't say improved the midfield, but made it look decent now. So yeah.
I actually rated Douglas Luiz last season, but Douglas Luiz while he was at Villa, but maybe last season he was a little bit up and down. Maybe it was the right time for him to move on. And of course, Villa have also said goodbye to Moussa Diaby and Alex Moreno, who has joined Forest on loan. And another quip here, Big Emmy, Manny's number 1, always my number 1. David Raya, yeah, he's decent, but he's not. Don't you start, boy. And listen, Steve, I've sent you the link if you want to hop on and have a say, because I'm actually going to I would like to get your views on the Brentford game on Saturday, which we'll be talking about. But before we move to Sunday's fixtures, obviously we've spoken at length about the United game and obviously the Arsenal game. But some of the other fixtures obviously are going to be quite interesting. And just briefly, which of these other fixtures do you think are going to be the most interesting and intriguing?
Well, this one here below, Tottenham Everton.
No, not this. I'm talking about the other fixtures in general, because obviously, as I said, we spoke about Brighton versus United and Villa against Arsenal. These are two fixtures that are going to be bookending everything, but we got some games in between. Which games do you think will be, quite intriguing and interesting?
I think Palace West Ham. Palace West Ham is going to be a big one. Like we said, Palace, they've lost Elise. Let's see if it impacts them in this game. So West Ham, they're coming back from a loss against Villa. So both teams, they're coming back from a loss. So I think that's going to be obviously his first home league game for Palace's manager. So yeah, that's going to be a big one. But for some reason, something told me there's going to be a red card in the Tottenham Everton or Southampton Forest game. So yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the red card came in the Everton game, because obviously, discipline is starting to, deteriorate a little bit. And of course, one theme, of course, is old boys coming back to their old stomping grounds. Wan-Bissaka going back to Crystal Palace, and of course, he was at your lot last season. De Cordova-Reid potentially going back to Craven Cottage, and Ipswich Town potentially could potentially field Arianet Muric and Liam Delap against Manchester City. So, yeah, it could be interesting. Spurs Everton is, of course, the Dele Alli derby. I think Ali is still technically with the Everton squad, but I don't think he is on Everton's books, rather. I don't know if he will, in fact, get to play. But we will see. And yeah, obviously, I didn't want to talk too much in depth on the Saturday fixtures, because you've already discussed them well. But now, of course, we move to the Super Sunday fixtures, 3 in question. And before that, of course, I think Chelsea fans gone for a 2-1 win as well, just like you. So yeah, so we've got Magpies to pit. Yeah, we got Bournemouth against Manchester United. This particular game over here, which should be a great deal of fun. Eddie Howe and potentially Lloyd Kelly coming back to their old stomping ground, Dean Court, to make an appearance. And I just know that my mates from up the cherries in all departments, Craig Beasley and others, might be doing a game day blog, or maybe they'll be following this game with interest. There's still a lot of love for Sir Eddie Howe. Still many people convinced that he should take the England job. But we'll see how this goes. And I think I don't know if you remember my prediction for this one, Norris. I think I might have gone for a 2-2 here or something similar. I just don't see either team coming up with a winner here. But obviously, Bournemouth have no fresh injury concerns, and club record signing Evan Nilsson, a replacement for Solanke, could make his debut. Marco Senesi, the Argentinian who missed a trip to Nottingham Forest through illness, is also available. Newcastle, of course, will be without the suspended Fabian Schär. Stupid act, really, against Southampton. Brereton Diaz, making a fool out of him. Jamal Lascelles, Sven Botman, and Lewis Miley remain long-term absentees. And Sandro Tonali will miss his final league match of a 10-month ban. So we could see the Italian coming back into contention this season, and it would be good if he does. I think it's fair to say that he was missed a great deal last season, and we will definitely look to see if he can weave some magic. He was very, magisterial in that fine opening day win against Aston Villa, of course, only for that ban to torpedo his season and Newcastle's season. Now, Bournemouth, of course, have won just one of their last 9 Premier League games against Newcastle. But they did take 4 points out of 6 against them last season. A 2-0 win at Dean Court, Solanke scoring both goals, and a 2-2 draw at St James's Park in February. And Newcastle haven't kept a clean sheet in any of the last meetings between the two, and that noise can only tell me one thing. We do have Mr. B coming on. Mr. B, good evening to you, and how are you?
Yeah, I'm cool, man. The only thing, mate, I'm getting echo in here for some reason. I might have to go out and come back in again, man. So I don't know what's going on here. So
That's all right. Just focus on the problem. Hopefully, we will have you back in time to talk about the Reds and the Bees.
no worries, mate. I'll be back on soon, okay? Cheers.
Okay, and thankfully we've got some RS2s just come back as well. Maybe some Wi-Fi issues there. Of course, Bournemouth are now, talking about Bournemouth. Their only win in 14 Premier League matches last season against teams that finished in the top 7 was by 2-0 at home to Newcastle. So that win, obviously, very noteworthy for Kieran Trippier and company having a little bit of a tiff with their own fans at Dean Court. Bournemouth are currently unbeaten in their opening home league fixture in each of the past 6 seasons since a 2-0 defeat under a certain Eddie Howe against Watford in 2017-2018. Since then, in those seasons, they've won 3 and drawn 3. And Antoine Semenyo, who scored the equaliser last week, with that goal, of course, was his 6th goal in his last Premier League starts. Newcastle, on the other hand, are looking to win their opening 2 Premier League matches in a season for the first time since the 1997-98 campaign under Kenny Dalglish. Ooh, a blast from the past. The Magpies did win their opening league away fixture in only one of their last 12 seasons, drawing 3 and losing 8, and that was a 2-0 victory at West Ham in 2020-2021. Joe Linton has the chance to become the first player to score in both of Newcastle's opening 2 matches of a Premier League campaign, the first since Alan Shearer in 2003-2004. And in 2024, only Cole Palmer has been directly involved in more top-flight goals than Alexander Isak, who has scored 13 and set up 3. And Eddie Howe is, of course, winless in each of the last 9 Premier League meetings between Bournemouth and Newcastle United, 5 with the Cherries and 4 in charge of the Magpies. So something tells me that when it comes to this fixture, Sir Eddie is not a very lucky charm. Now, obviously, Newcastle did look quite workmanlike against Southampton, and did quite well to secure that tight 1-0 win. And obviously, Eddie Pope coming back in goal has helped them a little bit. But they also seem to be maybe a little bit underdone in some ways. And Bournemouth, for me, also, they have the ability to really step up their attack quite well. And this is obviously a sort of a fixture that does have some goals in it. I just think I see both teams cancelling each other out. I don't quite remember if I predicted a 1-all or a 2-all draw, but neither team will end up winning. I think both teams should cancel each other out. What say you on this one, Orest?
Yeah, on my stream, funny enough, if you ask Mr. B, I was the only one that backed Bournemouth here. So
yeah, he was.
Wow.
I just see Bournemouth winning. Like 1-0 win. Like I know Eddie Howe's going to return, but I think Eddie Howe's going to return with a loss. So yeah, Bournemouth's going to win it 1-0.
Mr. B, what say you?
Yeah, I think Orest is on something, to be honest, but saying all that, but no,
I'm on that Riola smoke.
No, man, I'm back in Newcastle. I had them to win on there. I think they'll be too good for Bournemouth. Don't get me wrong, Bournemouth are a good team, Manny, but they've got no Solanke anymore. I'm just wondering where their threat's going to come from for goals.
They've got Evan Nilsson starting. Evan Nilsson.
Oh, is he starting? Oh, right. But I don't really know that much about him. Is he really good? Is he a good talent, big talent, or?
Well, I mean, the club did, of course, shell out a good amount of dosh to sign him. I think he's probably one of their record signings. So, yeah, it's a bit of a coup for them, and he could do quite well. We'll have to see how well he does.
Could be too early for him, though. I still think Newcastle will be too good here, so I'm going 2-1 Newcastle for this.
One thing I will say, though, is that Morara Neto in the Bournemouth goal will have to get his act together. Last season, he was a bit erratic, and Mark Travers came in for him. A bit surprising, really, that Bournemouth didn't opt to sign another goalkeeper, or maybe they did, and that just went under the radar. But we will, of course, be looking at that. And Chelsea fan agrees with you, Steve. He's gone for a 2-1 Newcastle win. So we'll take a look at that, of course. And, of course, we've got this game taking place at the same time. Chelsea dancing with the Wolves at Molineux. And this particular match has thrown up some fairly interesting predictions here. I'm just going to share the preview, of course. We just got a couple of matches left, and we will end the stream. Thankfully, we haven't gone too long over an hour as of yet. And the prospect of Pedro Neto coming back to Molineux, that is going to be tasty. Now, we'll see what happens. Of course, the preview states that Gary O'Neill has no new fitness issues ahead of Chelsea's visit. Semedo is still out through suspension, so Doherty will continue to deputise at right back. Leon Chiwome, Sasa Kalajic and Enzo Gonzalez are long-term absentees. Chelsea's João Felix, who has rejoined the club, I think on loan, will be available to play, but it will remain to be seen whether he features from the start. That will be at the discretion of Enzo Maresca. And Reece James is still serving the third game of a 4-match suspension after being sent off at the end of last season. And some match facts as well. Surprisingly, Wolves have actually won the past 3 Premier League meetings, as many as they've had in their previous 17 attempts, drawing 4 and losing 10. But it has to be said that those Chelsea teams on those occasions have just been diabolical. Chelsea, of course, without an away win in 4 league games against Wolves since that 5-2 victory in September 2019, under a certain Frank Lampard, didn't do very much, sadly, in his tenure. And the Blues' last win over the Wolves coming at Stamford Bridge in October 2022 through goals from Kai Havertz, Christian Pulisic, and Orest's favourite, Armando Broja. And talking about Wolves specifically, talking about Wolves specifically, they've lost 4 successive Premier League games for the first time since a run of 6 from May to August in 2021. They've only won one of their last 12 competitive matches in all competitions since a 2-1 top-flight home victory against Luton in April. That was, of course, last season, having drawn 12 and lost 9. So a rather poor end to the season, it has to be said. There was no Englishman in Wolves' starting lineup against Arsenal, the first time that has been a case in the Premier League fixture. And at 23 years and 80 days, Ryan Ait-Nouri can become the youngest player to make 100 Premier League appearances for Wolves, a record which, of course, now, as I had mentioned, belongs to a certain player who will be coming back to Molineux wearing the blue of Chelsea, or the away kit of Chelsea. And speaking of Chelsea, they are sadly in a position to lose their opening 2 league games of the season for the first time since 73-74. Enzo Maresca, of course, can become the first Chelsea manager to lose his first 2 top-flight fixtures in charge of the club since his compatriot Gianluca Vialli, Lord rest his soul, lost the first 3 in 1998, not including second spells as manager. The Blues have also failed to keep a clean sheet in any of their last 18 away games in all competitions since a 2-0 Premier League win at Craven Cottage last October. And a goal for Pedro Neto would make him just the 4th player to net a Premier League goal for and against Wolves after Stephen Hunt, Diogo Jota, of course, now at, I want to say Liverpool, yes, and Morgan Gibbs-White now at Nottingham Forest. So obviously Neto coming back to Molineux is the big headline, but Orest says he should be back very soon, and once he's back, he will, have his say. But interestingly enough, Chelsea fan has gone for Wolves to win 2-1, saying that obviously, as mentioned, the recent record of Chelsea at Wolves is not really of the best, and obviously the dealings by Maresca at Chelsea, the way he's pretty much cut England internationals Ben Chilwell and Raheem Sterling adrift. It reeks a great deal of ruthlessness at the beginning of the season, not unlike Pep Guardiola telling Joe Hart that his services will no longer be required because the bloke couldn't play with his feet. But that has, of course, been subject to a great deal of criticism. And obviously against City, they looked good in some parts, but not really good enough to challenge City that much. And against a workmanlike Wolves team that probably... They looked good in the midfield when they played against us at the Emirates, but their lack of a striker could be a problem. And I think, I don't quite remember my prediction. It is hard to see Chelsea getting anything out of this, though, I think. And Chelsea fans gone for them to lose. Do you think Chelsea will be as bad?
To be honest, Manny, my prediction, I put 2-1 Chelsea. So I just think they're going to do something. They've got to do something at some stage, haven't they, Chelsea? Surely, and they've got to come good at some stage. So I mean, they won in the conference. What was it yesterday? Didn't they? They beat Servette in the Europa Conference. So I think that might give them some confidence, maybe. Going into this one. So I just think they got to come back. I mean, City was always going to be a tough one for them anyway, wasn't it? So, but you know, I think they can come back here. I think they will get a win. I know Chelsea fans saying they're losing. He should know he is a Chelsea fan, but I just think they may come back. I just got a feeling they're gonna do something at some stage. So. Although they're going to lose, obviously, some players again. Sterling could be off, couldn't he? And one or two others. So, but yeah, I think they could do it, mate. I really do.
Yeah. Now Oris is, of course, back. We're just talking about this particular game, Wolves against Chelsea. I don't know if is Broha still a part of the Chelsea squad? Do you know, Oris?
He's joined Ipswich. Yeah,
Ipswich, yeah.
Ooh, so maybe he could play against City. But
he's only on loan, isn't he? He's only a loan.
Yeah, on loan, but they got obligation to buy Ipswich. They are. Yeah.
Wow. But how do you see this game panning out? Chelsea fan predicts a Chelsea loss. I wonder if the Manchester United fan feels the same way.
Unfortunately not. So I see Chelsea win, but listen, if Wolves win here, then wow. But no, thing is, Chelsea last night they weren't that impressive. I know they won 2-0, but still, apparently, right? That Swiss team got 22 shots in the whole game against Chelsea.
Oh, man.
I mean, I know
you can see it. It wasn't on here. It wasn't on, was it?
For me, I couldn't watch it because it wasn't televised in my bloody dodgy box. But yeah, anyways. Yeah,
I think it's a playoff, so it probably wouldn't be televised. But you have a point when you say that they're still not quite impressive as of yet, but maybe they should have enough to beat Wolves.
2-1 Chelsea, yeah.
Okay, and now the reason why I'm delighted that Steve has joined us, we've got this particular tasty fixture to round off the weekend, of course. You know, it's funny how you've got "Hey Jude" by the Beatles as your song, and of course the Beatles are from Liverpool, but they have a different song. "You'll Never Walk Alone."
Hey, Slot.
Yeah, so this obviously will definitely be quite tasty, and we're going to go through the preview. But Steve, feel free to cut right in if there's anything that you'd like to say. Talking, of course, about Liverpool first, Jarell Quansah is a doubt after picking up an injury in training early in the week, and of course he was replaced by Konate for the second half against Ipswich. Joe Gomez is nearing a return as his minutes are being managed after being a part of England's 2024 squad for the Euros. I think he did get some minutes, and it was good to see him play. I don't like him as a left back. I think he's much better as a right back, but obviously with Trent being there, that's not going to happen. And obviously Arne Slot doesn't see any reason why that should change. In fact, the commentators were saying when Liverpool played against Ipswich that it could easily be a squad selected by Jurgen Klopp with no real purchases being made. As far as the Bees are concerned, the King Bee, Thomas Frank, hopes that Ivan Toney, the wannabe King Bee, will be available after missing the first game of the season last week amid transfer rumours. Igor Thiago, one of your newest recruits, sadly remains sidelined, along with Josh Da Silva, Aaron Hickey, Enrico Henry, and Steve. I have to say, those last three names not being able to play, that really takes something out of your team, doesn't it? It takes something out of your team, doesn't it? And,
it's gutting for us, mate. It's gutting. Yeah, of course it is. But I just don't know, Manny. I mean, the thing is, right, we have signed. Of course, we got Carvalho. I'm sure he may play in this one. We've also signed, of course, Sepp Vandenberg, of course, also from Liverpool. Centre back, 25 million plus 5 million add-ons. So about 30 million, really. Shut up, Boris. No, I mean,
yeah, Oris, pipe down, son. Let him speak. Come on, Steve.
Yeah, man. Let me land, man. Let me land. All right. And so he's coming from Liverpool. I don't know that much about him, but I know he's got a lot of promise. He's been obviously around a lot of other teams. He's been on loan to Mainz, I believe, and even Preston at one stage. He was on loan. But, he obviously has something about him because we've been looking at him for a long time. So I don't know if he's going to actually be eligible to play in this one. If he got signed in time, I'm not totally sure. But, we may need an extra defender there because it's going to be a really tough game at Anfield. I'm not looking forward to this. I'm not confident on this one at all. I know they've got a new manager and everything, but, they're still the same team, still a nucleus of that same great team that Liverpool got. So it's going to be a struggle for us, man. And, I even said on my prediction, I think we're going to lose 3-1. I put on my prediction. So
yeah, well, I've been kind to you and have sort of reduced it to 2-1. And of course, it's nice that you mentioned the new recruits from Liverpool. We see, continuing the theme of old boys coming back to their old stomping grounds, this is a wonderful way to end it. And of course, before we go to Brentford, we talk about the head-to-head match facts. Liverpool having won each of their last 5 home games against Brentford without conceding a goal, a run stretching back to 1939. Oh boy. And Brentford, of course, having won just one of their 6 Premier League meetings, drawing 1 and losing 4. And they've also only won one of their last 12 away games versus Liverpool, last beating them in 1937 through a hat-trick from Bobby Reid in the top flight. No relation, of course, to Mr. de Cordova Reid. Definitely, namesake after several gaps. However, talking about Brentford, they've also won 4 of their last 7 Premier League matches, 1 more than in their previous 21 games combined. And they can win their opening 2 games of the season for the first time since 2006-2007 in League One. Brian Mbeumo can become the 4th player to make 100 top-flight appearances for the Bees, following Vitaly Janelt, Johan Visa, and Matthias Jensen. Are those 3 still at the club too, I think?
Oh, yeah, of course they are, mate. Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. And in addition to scoring what was the winner against Crystal Palace, Johan Visa has also scored and assisted in each of his last 3 Premier League appearances for Brentford. The first player to achieve that for any club since a certain Riyad Mahrez at Manchester City in December 2021. And no top player in top flight history has managed to do so in 4 consecutive appearances. So, there was, of course, talk about Tony being absent for the win over Palace due to some possible transfer interest. A bit surprising that he might be back in contention for the squad. But when you have such talent like Mbeumo and Visa, and you can definitely get some other person to come in and do quite well, I'm pretty certain you don't really need Tony anymore. And maybe he has grown a bit too big for his boots, hasn't he? That's why I called him the wannabe King Bee.
Yeah. Well, his ego's getting too big for us as well, and all the stuff that he's done, I still hate him for all that. The gambling and the slagging us off and everything. So, as much as I like what he's done with the goals and stuff, I think that's all great. That he got us a load of goals and he's got us up, of course, to the Premier. I still don't want him here anymore. I just want him gone, Manny, and. I think we can do well without him, and we proved we can. We proved we can do it. So I know we can have players that are not going to slag us off now, and not getting too big for their boots, and everything like that. So I think if we keep the nucleus, we keep Mbeumo, we keep Visa, our attack. Lewis Potter, of course. We have Carvalho there now, Shardy. We got quite a strike force, to be honest. It's quite an attack, to be honest. But I'm still not sure it's going to be good enough to do anything against Liverpool. And I just can't see it. I can't see us doing anything. I mean, if we can get a goal, great. But it's only going to be a consolation at the end of the day. So But then we know we got Southampton next. That's our comfort, comfort blanket sort of thing, and we know we got them next. So our cushion. So we know we should be able to win that one. You would think, but
yeah. Well,
anyway, mate. So.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say that Southampton, of course, only lost to Newcastle 1-0, and they could end up putting up a good fight against Forest now, because have tipped them to win, despite the portents being against them. And, of course, talking about Liverpool now, Arne Slot can become the first permanent Liverpool manager to win his first 2 league fixtures in charge since a certain Graham Souness in April 1991. A great start, but it did not end at all well for him. We all remember that.
No.
And Liverpool, of course, are unbeaten in their opening Premier League home game in each of the last 20 seasons. The last time they lost, of course, was a 2-1 loss to Chelsea in 2003-2004. And that was, of course, before the so-called special one came in. Claudio Ranieri was manager of Chelsea back then. This is Liverpool's first competitive match at Arsenal. Yeah, this is Liverpool's first competitive match at Anfield without Jurgen Klopp as a manager since October of 2015. 9 whole years. And big up to Mohamed Salah, of course. And with that goal against Ipswich to seal that win, he has scored a record 9 goals in 8 appearances on the opening Premier League weekend. However, he's only netted once in 7 games during the second round of matches. So you keep Mohamed Salah quiet, you could find a way through,
Yeah, sort of keeping him quiet, brother T. It's keeping the rest of them quiet, mate, it'll be the problem. So that is the only thing, isn't it? Because you got the likes of Jota, you got Gakpo, who else we got there? There's so many. No other ones I rate. I don't know if they're going to play him. He's like Jones and Harvey Elliott and all that. I really rate them, I don't know if they're going to play or not, though. And then, of course, there's so many threats around the pitch, isn't there? That's the problem. You keep one quiet, you got the others to deal with. So, I think there's some logic to that, but I mean, we'll wait and see, mate. I can't see us doing anything, man. I can't see us getting a win here or getting a draw or anything, to be honest. I'm just not confident at all.
Yeah, well, football is a funny old game and strange things have happened. But, Oris, let's come to you. Obviously, Mr. B and I have talked extensively about Brentford's chances or the lack of them. And Liverpool, do obviously pose a bit of a threat. We've just spoken about how Salah doesn't really have the best record when it comes to scoring in the second round of games in the Premiership after being peerless in the first round. But how do you see this match going? I think, Mr. B's resigned to the fact that the Reds will just have too much and will take the sting out of the Bees. What say you on this one?
Well, obviously, I'd like a Brentford win here, but I did predict a 2-0 Liverpool win. Even though, listen, I think the game plan from Thomas Frank will be, sit tight and try to hit them on the counter. Obviously, Liverpool won the first half against Ipswich, but obviously they woke up second half. But in terms of score predictions, I do think Liverpool win this 2-0. But then again, if Brentford can get that first goal, and I say if, then it could be, it could be a wake-up call for Liverpool. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, we will wrap this up. But before we do, of course, this statement you've made. So Haaland is fit and will play against Ipswich. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see what happens, and we will, of course, take a look at everything. I am, of course, looking forward to tomorrow's game, the 10 o'clock kickoff my time. I think it's 5:30 over in the UK. And obviously, if Del Boy will have a call-in show, hopefully we'll be celebrating a win. And as I told you, boys, I'm Arsenal first. I just think this could finish in the Desmond, but whenever I predict... whenever I predicted the draw, we have gone on to win for the most part. So hopefully, that will bring me some luck this time around. But we are going to wrap things up. We've been here for 90 minutes, the duration of a football match, without stoppages as of yet. But we are into stoppage time now, going into 20 seconds left, because I am going to ask you two boys to shout yourselves out, your channels, your socials, what you've got coming up. Steve, you go first.
Cheers, Mr. T. Basically, Mr. B for Life 182, Mr. B Hive Football Chat, Mr. B Talks England Cricket. So obviously, please keep following my content, everyone. Please keep checking everything out, subbing and smashing the likes and everything. Because I've lost a couple of subs lately again. I don't know what's going on, but if you really do like the content, please keep subbing. Don't unsub, and if you don't want to sub in the first place, don't. If you're going to unsub, so and I'm not begging anyone to keep subbing, but obviously, if you do like my content, please keep subbing. But anyway, I'm doing a stream tomorrow, obviously for this transfer about Sepp Vandenberg joining the Bees. So I'm going to do an actual stream tomorrow for that. So obviously doing a reaction one for the Liverpool game. Which will probably be Monday, I guess. But yeah, I've got plenty of other stuff coming up, and I've got to do a cricket one next week, I think, because obviously with that test match and the third day it's gone into, and I think it might only last maybe 1 or 2 more days. I don't know about you, Manny, but I think it might only last one more. If England will possibly win again, but who knows? Sri Lanka are doing quite well with the bat. But anyway, and thanks again. Thanks for having me on, lads, and thanks to Hano, of course, as well. It's obviously his channel. And thanks, Doris and Manny. Cheers, guys, and please keep following me and come on the Bees. But I can't see us winning. But anyway, come on the Bees.
All I can say to you is keep the faith. And as someone who is on your channel doing a lot of cricket shows with you, I share your appeal. Do please share the comment if there are any cricket fans out there who would really, be interested in what we have to offer, what Mr. B mainly has to offer. I just help him. Do please subscribe to that. A really good channel, of course. And now we've got the Albanian Pomeranian. I know you don't like that animal either. But thanks a lot for coming in at such short notice, and big up to you and your channel and the streams you do. What have you got coming up, and where can we find you?
Yeah, big up for the not invite. I think big up for the link. But yeah, I know it was a bit of unplanned because I just finished my stream then, saw that Hannah was live. So yeah, thought why not pop in and talk about how Brentford's gonna. No, I'm joking. But no, you can find me on YouTube, Arsenal Football. So yeah, we do weekly shows, game previews and reviews. Just finished my stream with Mr. B and others, so it was a good stream. So big up to Mr. B for that.
Great stream, man. Great stream.
Yeah, Instagram, Arsenal Football, and Twitter, obviously, or X, as Elon Musk calls it, Arsenal Footy. So yeah, you can find me on mostly on Twitter or YouTube, but all 3 of them. But yeah, like I said, you can find Manny on my shows as well. But yeah, big up to Manny himself, big up to Mr. B, and hopefully all our team gets 3 points this weekend.
Yeah, big up to your channel too. Obviously, I will hope to join you for the review stream, which should be on a Monday once this whole thing gets over, and we will have a lot to talk about the games in question. And of course, as we wrap up, I want to thank Chelsea fan, of course, in the chat. Also, big up to Miss Molina, who was here earlier, of course, but work, taking preference, of course. And this was a stream that we want to try and get done sometime after the mainstream, so that hopefully we'd have some more people in here. We got it done eventually. There is no thumbnail, of course, but we had a good chat, a good chin wag, and it's coming up to 94 minutes now. And we've had a lot to say. So, big up to you boys for coming on, and thank you to everyone in the chat. Hopefully we'll have some people, watching this on playback. And all I can say is the socials for Hannah, of course, down here on the ticker. You can catch him on Instagram and also on Twitter and also on TikTok if you are into that stuff. tick-tock on the clock, and the party will never stop. And on that note, we are out of here. Cheers to all of you. Enjoy the weekend. Cheeky so-and-so. But big up to all of you once again, as always, and we will see you very soon. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe and be happy. Don't do anything that the three of us wouldn't do. And until then, as always, it is farewell to thee. Goodbye and God bless to all of you. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.